Hello guys, Jules here and welcome back to Mystery Lake. Today here we are with a deck that might not take too long to explain because it might seem to a first glance like a regular electric type deck as we have seen plenty in this latest month. But truth is, this is a bit different from the other ones, and you can clearly see where the difference is coming from, and that would be this amazingly looking Ampharos GX. So let's go through all the Pokemon. Let's start right away. So as I just said, the deck basically it's a regular electric type deck. So we have the Zapdos that we know very well by now. Does 10 damage plus 70 more in case it just moved into the active position. We have the Jirachi with the amazing Stellar Wish ability. We have the Energy Acceleration with the Tapu Koko Prism Star ability called Dance of the Ancients. And we have the Coco GX to mainly use for the this GX attack that can allow us to get some important KOs on maybe a fully loaded Pikachu Zekrom or any other Pokemon basically which is using a lot of energies. But even, of course, even the other attack is not that bad, it's still 130 damages. And the Absol to annoy the opponents by increasing the retreat cost of their active basic Pokemon. So let's go straight into the news. So what is new in this deck? And that would be the line of 4-4-4-3, sorry, Marip Ampharos. So of course we are not playing any fluffy because we are just playing three Ampharos and three rare candy. So we're planning to get straight to the Ampharos, saving one turn without passing from the fluffy. So first of all, this Marip is pretty good for because of his ability, Fluffy Pillow, which is basically it's just like an hypnosis attack, except that it's not an attack, so you can do whatever you want after that. And basically, you can put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. Now, of course, normally you don't want to start with the Marip. Well, you want to start with the Marip, but not in the active position. Maybe you want it in the bench, so that you can comfortably wait for the rare candy or an Ampharos, depending on what you have and what you have not. But in the unluckiest case in which you get to have Marip in the active, maybe because you only got Marips in the first end, then this ability can turn out to be useful because well, let's say that your opponent cannot you go first, so your opponent can attack next turn, so you can attack right away, and you only have 50 HP. So there are chances are that he's going to be able to take the KO. So putting him to sleep can maybe sometimes, of course, assuming that he will not retreat and will not do anything, can save you. Basically, can save the Marip for one more turn in case in case he does not get up, of course, as soon as possible. But let's focus, of course, on the Ampharos itself. So the Ampharos itself is an actually amazing GX card that came out with Team Up, and initially it was really anticipated. Like everybody was talking about this card, but then he didn't get played too much, and that may be not because he was a bad card, but because the other electric cards were better. So name one overall is the Pikachu Zekrom, of course. Although it can be, we still need to consider this one because it definitely has something to say. First of all, we can see how awesome the art is. So Ampharos is also one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. So I was really glad that I could play this. That the new card, a new playable Ampharos came out, so that I could test it. And also, of course, that came also with a lot of support for the electric type in general. So everything was shouting was telling me to play Ampharos. So the first feature that we can notice, which is actually pretty good, is the health. He has 240 HP, which is a lot. It's a lot of HP. It's almost like a team up. Actually, it's exactly like a team up. Like if you think about Gengar Mimikyu, he has also 230 HP. So it's a lot of HP. It's just that it's a lot of HP. So it's not that easy to KO. But let's go through the attacks, which are also incredible. Okay, so the electrical GX, we can ignore him. We can ignore it. It's we are barely ever going to use it because not because it's well, it is kind of bad, but it could be useful to use it the earlier turns, right? Because you don't have, assuming you don't have any, you can get an Ampharos at turn 2, but you don't have anything else in the bench, and your opponent cannot knock you out right away. So it could be a good idea to use this attack to gather 6 Pokemon in your hand and then just plan the rest of the game. Thanks, like carry out the rest of the game thanks to those 7 Pokemon that you got at the first time. But still, if you do this, then you are precluding the possibility to use a powerful Tapu Thunder GX next in the upcoming turn. So you might want to consider even against the deck you're playing against can influence this choice, because if you're playing against the Pikachu Zekrom and you waste, quote unquote, the GX attack to use this one, then you are going to suffer later on to not having this one available. So let's say that this GX is not good, it's not bad, but we are barely ever going to use it. The other two attack on the other end, those are amazing attacks, both of them. So the first one just deals 30 damages, but you can put all electro power cards from your discard pile into your end. So this is insane, because this means that you can use as many electro powers as you want every time, because you know that you are going to get them back from the discard pile directly into your end. So there is a card that's some kind of a battery or something that lets you flip the coin 2 times, and for each head that you get, you can put 1 electro power card back from the discard pile into your deck. That card did not see any play exactly because of this reason, because it allows you to put the electro power back into the deck, but not into your end. So that's what is making this attack so strong, is that it's putting it into your end. So you can maybe think of dealing some damages with the first attack plus 1, 2, 3 electro power, depending on how many you have. Deal some damages, and just so that later on you can take the KO with the second attack, because it's unlikely that you're going to be KO'd in one turn. So you can plan on different turn. That's one thing that you can do with the Ampharos GX, and that for example you cannot do with the Zapdos, because the Zapdos is almost always going to be knocked out in one turn after he attacks. The Ampharos, unless you're playing against a fighting deck, then you can be relatively safe. You can consider yourself relatively safe. The second attack, it just deals more damages, 150 damages. That of course with one choice band and 1 electro power can get to 210, which is the kind of the target to reach in order to take some important KO over GXs, and also with another electro power, which we need to assume that we will always be playing, because we can get them back any time. With another electro power, I was saying we get to 230, which is what we need to do to KO the tag team GX, most of the tag team GXs. And this discards all lightning energy. So this could be a drawback, yes. Is it actually a drawback? Sometimes, sometimes, because it synergizes very well with the max potions that we are playing. We are playing 2, we could play 3. Truth is, it's not always convenient to play more, because most of the time we are doing this attack just to take specific KOs on big Pokemon. So we are not doing it that many times. So 3 max potion was 3 or 4, or more than 2 sounded like too much. But in the end, it still synergizes very well with those, because after you attack, you discard all the energies, so you can use the max potion for free, ideally. Because you attack, let's say you don't get the KO, he attacks back, he deals you like 100 damages, 200 damage, or whatever, and you can heal them all up with the max potion, which is insane. Of course, then you will need to, ideally, we would need to attach another energy to attack with this one, with the power recharge attack. Unless we have the Thunder Mountain, which is another card that synergizes very well with this deck. Not only the Thunder Mountain, we have known it very well for the previous videos. Not only it allows you to attack, and it allows electric Pokemon to attack with one lightning energy less. So the good thing is that with that card you can attack for free with the Power Recharge, as you can attack for free with the Thunderous Assault. But the more important thing is that you can attack with one energy, only with one energy, with the Impact Bolt. So this means that you, ideally, you attack, you discard the energy, you take 200 damage or whatever, you heal them, you attach an energy, you have the Thunder Mountain, and you can do Impact Bolt for just one energy. So this is insane if you think about it. The drawback, of course, is that the Thunder Mountain is a Prism Star, so once we have lost it, there's no way we can ever get it back. So for the scenarios in which we don't have the Thunder Mountain in the active, like in play, we should rely on the other attackers that we have, because we do have other attackers. So ideally, we would have a Zapdos ready in the bench, a Tapu Koko, well, no, Tapu Koko maybe in end, but still not in play, and maybe a Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate the energies. Also, you might have noticed by now one of the differences between this deck and all the other electric type. For example, maybe not all the other electric type, but specifically the Zapdos Jirachi. The Zapdos Jirachi are not playing the Zeraora most of the time, and that is because they don't really need it, as they can constantly switch with the switches, Escape Rope, Kutsmas, and whatnot. Here we are relying a bit on the Zeraora to retreat the Ampharos. We are playing still Escape Rope, Switches, and Guzma, and whatever, but still, the Ampharos has a 3 retreat cost, which is the worst retreat cost ever, because if it's 4 you can attach buff padding, if it's 3 you cannot do anything, you just have to pay a lot to retreat it. But thanks to the Zeraora we can retreat it for free. So the Zeraora is one of the Pokemon that we could aim for with the Nest Bolt, together with the Tapu Koko Prism Star, not the Koko GX of course, because we need to have this in the end. Well, the Nest will put it already on the bench. So that's the idea. So just to wrap it up, we have the main attacker, which is the Ampharos. In case we have to attack with the Impact Bolt and we don't have the Thunder Mountain, then we should just like preventing the situation in which we cannot one turn we cannot attack. We should have already set up a Zapdos in the bench, or even a Zeraora in the bench. Zeraora is still a decent attacker. So we should have the alternative for when we use Impact Bolt without the Thunder Mountain. Whereas when we have the Thunder Mountain, we can just use Thunderbolt like the Impact Bolt for free-ish, because we should be able to adjust to attack every turn due to the fact that we only use one energy. So of course, so this is okay. Of course, the Jirachi is used to get items and trainers, as always is in any other deck. So let's move on to the trainers then. The trainers are also pretty standard, if you except for the max potion, of course, that you barely see, like you never see actually in a lightning deck. That is because you need to have energies attached to both Pikachu, Zekrom, Zapdos, and whatever any other deck, lightning Pokemon. Sorry. So we're playing 4 of the copies of Electro Power, which unlike the other decks that we have seen, in this case we can always play them. We can always use Electro Power, almost, of course. If it makes no sense to use, for example, if we have one Jirachi against and we can use just the Power Recharge with just one Electro Power, then it makes... Well, actually, we can still do it because it's just for free. Because we can use the Electro Power, deal 60 damage, and get back the Electro Power, so it's fine. So yeah, I will still stick to my starting opinion. We can always use the Electro Power with this deck because we are sure that we are going to get it back. Also differently from the other electric lightning type deck that you have seen on this channel, we are playing the energy recycler here. And that is because we are not playing an insane amount of energy. We are playing some energies, 7 energies, because the Ampharos requires just 2, Tapu Koko requires 3, but could be less with the Thunder Mountain. Also, we can get them back with the Tapu Koko already. So this is just a safe, plan B. Let's call it a plan B. We're playing an Escape Rope, just copies of one copy of Escape Rope and 3 switches and 3 goods map, because we need to not only perform the switches and counter switches for the Zapdos to deal the highest amount of damage as possible, but we also need to take the Ampharos out from the active position whenever he is there and he cannot do anything. For example, in case we don't have a Zapdos, and we actually no, in the same case as I said before, which we have the Ampharos, but we don't have the Thunder Mountain. We have just discarded the energy, so we cannot attack. Then we take the Ampharos away from the active position. We can even think of sacrificing other thing, even Jirachi, depending on the stage of the game. Of course, normally we wouldn't do it, but if the stage of the game, if the game, the specific game allows us to, then we might think about it. Or and another Marip if you have it. So that's a lot of options. The Nest Ball, as I said before, most likely, depending on what we have and what we have not, the target from the Nest Ball could be a Jirachi, could be a Zeraora, could be a Zapdos, could be even a Marip, or the Tapu Koko. Pretty much everything except for the Tapu Koko GX. That is because, again, we need this to be played from the end. Rare Candy, we are playing 3 copies of Rare Candy because we have 3 Ampharos GX. Yeah, that's self-explanatory, and we need the Jirachi and the builds analysis to get ourselves this Rare Candy. So I'm not sure, in fact, about playing 1 build analysis. There could be more. I could be playing more build analysis. Maybe 1 Goodsma, one less Goods, like 2 Goodsmas and 2 build analysis. Because we have already a lot of things to switch. Maybe I can. Well, I will actually do this now. I will remove the escape rope for another build analysis. Okay. Just because I don't like the escape rope too much. I don't like the escape rope too much because it's a less powerful Goodsma, as it allows your opponent to choose which Pokemon to put in play. So I would rather have 2 builds analysis that will help us in getting rare candies, switches, Electro Power even, or Max Potion, everything. So the build analysis I think is a pretty good card in this for this deck. Yeah, well, the Rescue Stretcher is a rescue stretcher that we will most likely use to get the Zapdos back. Not necessarily the Ampharos, because we should avoid playing too many Ampharoses. Maybe after 1 or 2 have died, then we should stop, because if we lose another one, then we have lost. So it might be a good idea to start using the Zapdos in this case. Also, it's important to realize that it's not just because the deck main attacker is Ampharos that we need for sure to play only the Ampharos. We have other attackers that we need to use, especially, for example, in case we are facing a Lucario GX or Zoroark deck with Licorice that can one-hit KO us. So we might also consider putting Weakness Policy, given that the amount of fighting deck is rising fast. Then we're playing 3 switches, 2 Ultra Balls. The Ultra Balls, of course, are used mainly to get the Tapu Koko GX in case we don't have it. The Thunder Mountain again, 3 escape board for the Jirachi, 2 choices banned, 2 boost damages by the Ampharos and the Zapdos and the Zero, or pretty much everyone. And then we have the supporters are really standard. We have 2 builds analysis, 1 Erika's Hospitality, 2 Lily, 3 Goodsma, and 4 Volkner. So we have 3 only pure drawing supporters, but we still get 4 Volkners and 2 build analysis and 3 Goodsma. So the 3 Goodsmas are very important to get to move our Pokemon in and out from the active position, which is always important when it comes to lighting decks. But it's also important to get the KOs on some specific Pokemon from our opponents. For example, in the Zoroark, which is a losing matchup due to the weakness, we could try and target down the Rockruff because we can take it down with just 1 power recharge and 1 electro power. I think he has 50 or 60 HP, so we can do it. The Erika's Hospitality and the Lily, of course, are pure drawing support, and the Volkner is insanely good, as it is in pretty much any other electric type deck, because it will allow us to get electro power, switches, and energies. So it's overall very powerful, especially with the Ampharos, because we can get multiple electro power. We can have, for example, at some point 4 electro powers all in end and use them every time, and we could get 120 damage just from the electro power plus 30 is 150 damage for 1 energy, and we also got to get the electro power back. So it's a really strong, it's synergized really well with the Volkner, that of course in this case we would be using mostly to get electro power, but depending on the situation we could get other items as well. That's the power of this card. And the build analysis, I already mentioned it before, it can be very useful for us to get um, items that we need, and we don't need just the electro power, we don't need just the max potion, but we need this. I of course I didn't specify how important they are, but they are extremely important because without rare candy we would never be able to get the Ampharos in play. And that I think it would be it, concluding with 7 lightning energies. So that being said, let's talk about the matchups then. So against the Pikarom, it's not actually a too bad of a matchup because the Ampharos, as we said, is fairly bulky. So not him and not we are going to take one hit KO most of the time. But there is a big difference, and the difference in the Pikachu Zekrom matchup is given by the max potion, because we have the max potion, they don't. We can heal the Ampharos. They cannot heal the Pikachu Zekrom most of the time. Well, I think never. I've never seen a max potion played in Pikachu Zekrom. So what happens is that we have both. They have 2 hit KO on us, and we have 2 hit KO on them. But after the first attack, for each, we can just heal and attack again. They cannot do the same. So technically, assuming that we get to play an Ampharos against a Pikachu Zekrom, like on time, we could say, then we might be in a slightly more favorable spot. However, we need to take into account, and that is an important thing, that the Pikachu Zekrom is a basic, whereas the Ampharos is a stage 2. So there's it can happen that the Pikachu Zekrom get there much earlier than the Ampharos, and then it can be difficult for us to catch up. If he manages to, if our opponent manages to use the Pikachu Zekrom before our Ampharos, so taking maybe already some KOs, some KOing, for example, the Jirachi that we might have, or really any other Pokemon, then it might be difficult for the Ampharos to catch up, because at that point, if he already attacked once, he most likely will have another Pikachu Zekrom ready in the bench, so he can just retreat one. So after we attack that one, he can retreat that, promote the other one, and use the other one to fight us. And in that case, we can still heal ourselves, if assuming we have a max potion. But then he can keep doing this this Pikachu Zekrom dance, let's say, and we have only 2 max potions, so we cannot keep healing for forever. So for the Pikachu Zekrom matchup, assuming if we manage to get toe to toe with him in terms of speed, which we might, because despite this being a stage 2, this is not a very slow deck. It's actually quite fast, thanks to the build analysis and Jirachi to get ourselves a rare candy and everything else we need. So assuming we get to go to toe with the Pikachu Zekrom, I think we can play with it. We can manage to win. If we take the Ultra Necrozma, it's I've seen some Ultra Necrozma again. I've played against some Ultra Necrozma, and the problem is that it's always the same with the Ultra Necrozma. If you manage to target down the Inkay or the Malamar, then you're fine. Then you're good to go. But if you don't, then they put you in trouble. You just need 3 Psychic Energy to KO the Ampharos. And if everything goes smoothly in his play, he will be able to get the 3 Psychic Energy every turn rather easily on the Ultra Necrozma. So again, it's not in any case, both against the Picaro and the Ultra Necrozma, it's not a easy like free win matchup. It's always a skill, let's call it a skill matchup, because it always depends on how the decks are performing, if they get bricked, if they brick or not, and how fast can they set up, and that is depending on skill and also a bit of luck, we need to say that. Against the Zoroark, then the matchup is not good. Well, the matchup is not good because, well, okay, they are not playing many many Likarok. So once we can, if we can take the KO, some good KOs on the Rockruffs, then we can fairly easily deal with Zoroark. Zoroark can deal maximum to 120 damage, and we can easily survive that 120 damage with pretty much everyone. So with the Zoroark it shouldn't be too bad, but the problem is the Likarok. The Likarok can one-shot every one of our Pokemon. So yeah, we need to shut down the Rockruffs in that case, or the Likarok itself, because the Likarok is 200 HP, so we can KO him. So it will come down once again to how the match is played, but compared to the previous two, I would think that they have the upper end. Assuming that things goes well for both, they have the upper end just because of the weaknesses, and also the Likarok ability is pretty strong. If we have an Ampharos safe and sound in the bench, they can just take it, move it back to the move it into the active with the Likarok, and then take KO, and then they will basically delete all that we set up. So after all, we can conclude that this is comparing it to the other decks that that you have seen on the channel so far. This is a fairly more competitive one, as it's just a lightning type deck, which are strong in general right now. So this is also fairly strong. It can suffer from something that the other the other lightning deck do not suffer on, and that would be, for example, the weakness. If you compare it to the Zapdos Jirachi, or the damages if you compare it to the Pikachu Zekrom. But still, it can compete. That's the thing. It can compete with all of those decks. Maybe it's just a bit too slow compared to those, even though it is rather fast, but it's still slower compared to those more popular decks. But yeah, they don't have an Ampharos, so what are we even talking about? We need the Ampharos is one of the best Pokemon ever, so being able to play it in a good deck is also very nice for me. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button and to put a like to the video. If you have not seen the previous one, there has been 1 week of pause, but there has been some pause, yeah, recently. But if you have not seen the other video, make sure to check them out. And you can also find the link in the description, the links to our Twitch channel where we stream, and we are going to do a booster pack giveaway soon for the PTCGO. It will still be pre-Unbroken Bonds, and you can also find the Twitter profile in which we will publish all the updates regarding the videos on the channel. I would think that in 2 weeks approximately 2 weeks, we will start with Unbroken Bonds contents. But that still need to be verified. It depends on how fast I can get my hands on the Unbroken Bonds cards on the online one. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys to the next time. Bye bye.